All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday evening. At least it's beautiful where I am. My name is Kristy Jelinek, and I'm going to be one of the trainers this evening, along with the woman that was just speaking, Gloria Brinker. And I'm going to speak a little bit about the invite, and Gloria is going to speak about the lymphatic system. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because that's about all I understand when it comes to that. And as I was thinking about this tonight, I was reflecting on the fact that isn't it great that we are in an industry and in a profession that there can be a vast variety of us, some of us who understand, the invite, some that understand mindset, some that understand the science, and we can all come together to support one another and help one another. So as you join these trainings tonight and in the future, just something to think about is, even if you don't necessarily understand some part of it, like I always look at the science part of it. That's not my strong suit. And even though when people are sharing and I don't quite understand what they're talking about or all the connections, there's usually something that they say when they're speaking that clicks for me, that I either think of somebody I want to reach out to, or I think of somebody to connect with or to share with. So as you're listening, maybe some of the things I say or some of the things Gloria shares aren't going to be words that you use or tools that you use, but maybe it's going to help you think about somebody that you can reach out to. So while you're here, just open mind and open hearts, and we all can teach and learn from one another. So the invite, I'm not really going to talk about the verbiage to use or the scripts to use for the invite. I want to talk about a different side of the invite, and that is the mindset as we move into inviting people. So the reason I don't want to share a script is because if you go online and type in LifeVantage invite, there are going to be tons of things that come up for you. Or if you're part of a team and they have a website, there's tons of information. There's tons of information on Facebook. So you can go find those scripts. But I want to talk about a different side of that, because the scripts, the words, they're not the magic. There's no magic word. There's no magic formula of the words that are going to help you do better than other words. Like there's no perfect thing that I can do, no perfect thing Gloria can do, no perfect thing you can do. It's all going to translate differently. And as cliche and as silly as this may sound, the truth is that you are the magic. You are the person that is going to make the invite what it is. And as you come up with the verbiage that you are going to use to invite people, you need to be very aware of your mindset moving into this. You need to be prepared as you pick up the phone or sit on the computer to contact people. Because the way you bring yourself forward, that energy, that is what people are going to be attracted to more so than any words you can say about inviting them to take a look at this opportunity. So be authentic, be aware of your energy and your enthusiasm. Before I invite, I like to do a couple of different things. Either I go for a walk, clear my head, especially if I'm having kind of a ick day, I like to get out in nature. It helps me just reset and refocus. Or if I'm calling somebody on my chicken list, sometimes I'll just turn on some music and I'll just listen to some music, whether it's inspirational music or a little rock music to kind of get me going, get me pumped up, get me ready. So whatever those things are for you, do them before you get on the phone or before you start texting people. Get yourself ready. Now, with that said, sometimes when we get into those modes and we get excited, we tend to, everything starts to raise, and then we want to talk a lot. So remember also, when you are inviting people, that you are the messenger, not the message. You are the messenger to invite people, but you are not going to share the message with them. That's what you're inviting them to. You're inviting people to take a look at the message that you have. So when you invite, keep it short, keep it simple. There's a lot of great language out there about how when you invite and somebody says, well, what is it? Just saying, you know what, I don't have time to explain it right now. I would love to show you, and then pick out a time and a date to get together with them or to send them the information so they can look at it. The other thing about the invite is that you have to do it. right? You have to actually practice it and get it out there. If you're not inviting people to an opportunity, they're never going to know what your opportunity is, or they're never going to have the ability to show up. So you have to actually do it. And this is a skill that you build. So if it doesn't feel comfortable right away, that's okay. Then you practice. Practice, practice, practice. How and where do you practice? Ask friends or family if you can practice on them. In fact, this was one of the things that I heard when I first joined, and I did that, not asking people to take a look at the opportunity, but saying, I'm starting a new business, I'm getting involved in an opportunity, and I need to practice on some people. Would you be willing to hear me out? And it was one way that I got one of my friends to look at the product and look at the opportunity, just by practicing on them. Another thing you can do is practice in front of your pets. We love our pets. Our pets love us. They're an audience. There's a little exchange of energy there. So practice in front of your pets. That's an easy one. It's safe. They're going to love you anyway. They're going to love you afterwards. They're going to love you during it. So go ahead and practice in front of them. Another opportunity that you have is for, if you know that somebody is rocking it and they're getting people to meetings and they're getting people to look at the opportunity, whether it's your upline, crossline, somebody you met in the business, ask them if they would be willing to get on a 3-way call with you, have them muted in the background, make a couple of phone calls with the invite you're using, and then ask for their input. This may feel uncomfortable. This may feel a little scary, but I promise you that you're going to get a lot out of it. Even if it's just a little tweak in how you say something, a little tweak in the word that you use, you're going to get some very good input out of that. And remember, as scary as it can feel having somebody else listen to you, remember that the anticipation of that is far often a lot worse than actually just doing it. You know, we have these conversations with our kids that sometimes the conversation is, or not the conversation, the action, the thought of the action is the really scary part. And then you go and do it and you're like, oh, well, I guess that wasn't that bad. Or we have to do something for the first time. So just jump in, ask someone to help you out, and I promise you it's going to feel a lot easier after you do that. Another thing you can do to prepare your mindset as you are getting ready to invite people is to make a list. Put people in categories as to, are you contacting this person because you think they could be a customer? Are you contacting this person because you think that they could make a business partner? Be open to the conversation. But if you have an idea of why you're contacting them, at least it makes you a little bit more prepared for moving forward. Now, make sure in these conversations that you're listening, because they may tell you something other than, you know, maybe they're looking for an opportunity. Maybe they have some health concerns. So always listen to what they have to say. And then maybe you can transition from there. Also, know what you're inviting them to. Are you inviting them to watch the ABC investigative report? Are you inviting them to a social media lunch? Are you inviting them to a meeting, to a presentation? Are you inviting them to a 3-way call to speak with somebody else? Know what you're inviting them to. The more information you have, so if you know who you're inviting, why you're inviting them, if you think potential customer, potential business partner, and then what you're going to be inviting them to, you have that down. You take a lot of the guesswork out of sitting there and spinning your wheels while you're actually speaking to them. Remember too, to not overcomplicate this. Again, short and sweet and simple is what you want to do. You want to tell them, make it personal for them. Let them know why you thought of them. When you're inviting people, please do not invite every person on your Facebook profile, on your friends. Do not invite every friend. Because when you go to a meeting, if you were invited to something and you saw that 400 people were invited, would you take it very seriously? That's one thing. I think that it feels really easy and it feels like we can get a lot of information to a lot of people really quickly, but that's the information people tend to shy away from. So make it personal. Pick up the phone, text, private message them, let them know why you're excited and what you're and why you thought of them, why you thought of inviting them. And then you don't always have to invite on the first contact. So this is something that I've been doing a little bit more of lately. And when I run into somebody or I talk to somebody that I think may be interested, or that I would like to introduce to this information and these products, I make that initial contact and don't mention LifeVantage or the products. I just make the contact, I ask some questions, I touch base, and maybe there was something inside of that conversation that you can use for a follow-up conversation, and that could include the invite. So one of the things I do is, after I have a conversation with somebody, then I'll come back and say, I don't know, a week later or so, it depends, what's going on in their life, but come back and say to them, it was so great to talk to you. I'm glad that we connected last week. And since our conversation, I haven't been able to stop thinking about what you said. And I have something that I would be interested in showing to you. I would like to introduce to you. I think it could help you. It could be beneficial for you. Would you be interested in taking a look at it? Something along those lines. The invite can be a really good follow-up to a conversation. So don't feel like if somebody said, oh man, I've been having migraines and I have no energy and I'm tired all the time. That's not an invite to jump in and say, oh my gosh. Sometimes it is, sometimes. But use that as a way to build the relationship and do a follow-up with an invite after that. And then lastly, that's kind of the thing, is follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up. People are busy. Think about all the information that you get thrown at you. Think of all the unread emails you have in your folder. And don't be discouraged because people don't respond. Follow up. There are so many statistics showing, especially in network marketing, that the follow up, you have to 5, 7, 8, 10, 15 times before people really listen or people hear you. So follow up, guys. And that's what I have on the invite. I think that we tend to overcomplicate some of these things. I think we tend to want the perfect words. And I want like you to shift that a little bit and think about more of the mindset. What kind of mindset are you going into the invite with? Are you prepared? Do you have your ducks in a row? Do you know what you want to say? Do you have a reason for reaching out to them? I think with our mindset, getting ourselves in the right mindset, it takes a lot of the guesswork and the uneasiness out of the invite and presenting this information to people. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Gloria, and she is going to take the science portion of this call. Gloria, are you there? She's somewhere.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we are.
Take it away, lady.
Okay. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Kristy. That was all very good information. And I actually took lots of notes to when I meet with my team the next time to actually talk with them and meet with them. So I love the thing about the practice thing. So I'm going to actually encourage them to all call 3 people that they want to practice on. And so I think that'll help some of them get started. So it's not maybe as threatening. So I think just call 3 family or friends or something and say, can I practice on you? And if they could do that like the first week or the second week or something, I think it'll be awesome. Okay. So thank you for all those ideas. Okay. So I hope this will all work. I live in the very country, and so I already got kicked off like twice. So hopefully this will all just keep working. But I'm going to try to screen share here, and then we'll kind of get going, and we'll get some education going on what I'm talking to you about. Come on. I really have it all ready and prepared. Okay. So I have to get up here. Go away here. No, I want to go there. No. Go up. Okay, so let me know. Can you see this okay? Kristy, can you show me? Can you see it? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the lymphatic system. And I, of course, love studying all about the body and the science and things like that behind a lot of things. And so I sometimes think that one of the systems that isn't paid attention to enough is actually the lymphatic system. And so I was reading a book one time by a doctor who was writing in regards to cancer. And he compared the lymphatic system to a city where all in the back alley of the city, in the back alley of the restaurants and the hardware stores and everything that they need to do. Anyway, so when they take their garbage out to the back alley, well, what if no garbage truck ever came and took those out of there? That the back alley would just continue to be filled with garbage, and it would start to grow mold, and it would start to have parasites and bacteria and lots of things. And so that's what he compared it to. So again, I just think it's a system of our body that we need to be aware of, to realize what it does, and realize what some of the LifeVantage products actually can help to support that system. So it's very neglected. So our blood really carries all of our nutrition and our oxygen and our nutrients throughout it. And then it passes into these capillaries and it becomes interstitial fluid. So fluid that's in between the cells. Well, that fluid then needs to get picked up. And if that fluid doesn't get picked up, I'm sure many of you have seen sometimes elderly people who are sitting in a wheelchair and their legs get edema. And the ankle swell, the lower leg swell. Sometimes simply by elevating the leg, it helps some of that fluid to flow back. But that's the lymphatic system when it's congested. Other things that you'll notice with the lymphatic system that it can be indicated that somebody might have an issue with it is that they really have struggles with when a storm front moves in. And because the fluids in the body then when somebody says, my joints are aching, I can tell a snowstorm is coming, or that a rainstorm is coming, or a thunderstorm is coming, because their joints ache. That means that there's fluid in those joints, and all fluid in our bodies are affected by barometric pressure. It's like the tide coming in, the tide going out. So all of that is affected by that. They don't do it so much anymore, but years ago when people had breast cancer and they needed to have a mastectomy done, many times they would take some of the lymphatic vessels as well, not realizing the importance of it. And so then people would have a very swollen hand. And so if you see anybody who needs consistently uses a pressure sleeve, a compression sleeve, or TED socks, or compression stockings, anything like that, that is all an indication that their lymphatic system is congested and it's not free flowing. And that's what we want. We really want our lymphatic system to be flowing around like water. And what I find is when the lymphatic fluid sits in the tissue for too long, it almost becomes like jello. So gelatin or something. And so it can still move, but it moves much, much more slowly. So we're going to just kind of go through now what the lymphatic system is and how to keep it moving. And we have great products that actually do help to support the lymphatic system. So first of all, what is it? And if you see all the little green lines that are all around, and again, of course, the blood pumps blood all around, filled with nutrition, filled with our vitamins and our minerals and our amino acids and everything, gets to all of our muscles and our digestive systems and our internal organs of the body. But then once all that's pushed into the muscle tissue and, like I said, the internal organs and things, somehow that fluid needs to be brought back up again. And so as you see, there's all these little green vessels starting in the toes, and it goes up to the ankles, up to the knees, up to the hips, and then also in the fingers. And then it all moves way up into the chest area, and then that's where it's reabsorbed into the bloodstream and goes to the liver for the liver to clean it out again. But many people, it's compromised and it's blocked. Now, most recently, I personally have always felt that there were lymphatic nodes and lymphatic vessels in the head. But if you can see right here is the latest research that the National Institute on Health research uncovered drain pipes in our brains in October of 2017. That's very new research. And what they said is by scanning the brains of healthy volunteers, researchers at the National Institute of Health saw that the first long sought evidence that our brains may drain some waste out through lymphatic vessels, the body's sewer system. The results further suggest that the vessel should act as a pipeline between the brain and the immune system. And that's just it. If we don't, we can take lots of good, healthy kinds of things, but if we're not moving our waste products out of our body, that really can compromise our health. So I think this is cool that they found this only in 17, because I do massage and reflexology, when people would come to me, many times in massage classes, they would always say, if people have headaches, if people have migraines, it's lack of blood flow to the head. And they would encourage us to massage blood towards the head to be helping with that. But I never got real good effects with that. And so I would always try massaging, very gently massaging from the head down, and try to push the fluid down. And people always seem to feel better. Well, this to me really explains why. And this was only in 2017. Maybe if we're pushing the fluid out of the brain rather than trying to pull blood up to the head, that it really actually did help with the headaches. Okay, so this is just a really blown up view. As you see, the red arteriole is the blood vessel coming in, and our heart system has a closed system. So as you see, all the pinkish and purplish and blue colored things that go across, that's the blood system. So the red blood is the oxygenated blood. Then as it goes to the tiny capillaries that we have, the oxygenated blood is pushed out there, along with the nutrition and things like that. So let's pretend this is inside of a muscle cell. And so as you see, it comes in, goes to the capillaries, the muscle gets all the calcium and the magnesium and the amino acids, everything that it needs. The rest of the blood then is taken up through the vein, and that's why veins are purple, because there's no oxygen left in them. And so then that goes back to the lung again. But what about all of that fluid, all those little tiny pink dots that you see all around there? They actually need to be picked up and brought back up towards the vena cava, which is in the top part of the chest. But that all has to be reabsorbed. So that fluid has to be reabsorbed. And if it isn't reabsorbed, then you have edema in joints, and we have edema in ankles and feet and hands and all sorts of things. And so, and without that lymphatic system being able to pull the fluids in there, all of that toxic waste stays in there. It's all waste products from our cells, and so we have to get it out. Of course, if that fluid in there is free flowing, it can more likely go into those little green lymphatic vessels and go back up near the chest cavity to get reabsorbed into the blood to then be cleaned up by the liver and lots of things. But if that fluid isn't free flowing, if it's more gel and really sticky, it's going to have a harder time getting into those lymphatic vessels and out of the body. Okay, so this is a gentleman who talks about what are the symptoms of a sluggish lymphatic system. And I want you to listen closely because he's got a lot of good insight.
Detoxifying itself is really, really important. When we're stressed or when the lymphatic system becomes congested, we begin to see things like holding on to more water, gaining more weight, rings getting tight in your fingers, ankles beginning to swell, rashes on your legs, your hands, your feet, joint pain, particularly in the hands and the feet. Any issues in the hands and the feet are usually circulatory issues of compromise or congestion, where the toxins can't move out of the hands or the feet back to the heart, and that's usually a lymphatic indicator. Itchiness on your skin, sore throats, headaches, breast swelling or becoming tender around menstruation, swelling around your belly, cellulite, lethargy, tiredness, fatigue, uterine fibroids, fibrocystic breasts, ovarian cysts. These are all toxic, fibromyalgia, all toxic related lymphatic congestive problems. So if you have
Okay, so if you want to go to any further, you can go onto that lifespa.com /lymph to learn more. Okay.
to detox.
So not only does the lymphatic vessels themselves, but also if you look at the inside of a cell, our cell on the outside and the cell on the inside is all full of fluid. If the fluid is sticky, things aren't going to move. And you want, even within the cell, the mitochondria can receive the communication that it needs, and the nucleus can receive the communication that it needs. And all of that means is that we need to have water-like liquid in us and not jello-like liquid in us. And that's what the lymphatic system and other things are. Now, there are a variety of things that can cause our lymphatic system to be congested, but there are two main ones. And the first one is stress, okay? And it says biochemical and hormonal changes occur when there is a lot of stress. And we know that things happen because when people are very stressed, sometimes they get stomach ulcers, sometimes they get constipation, sometimes they get diarrhea. Some people get traveler stress where they can't go until they get home again. But anytime that you have those biochemical or hormonal changes occur, this actually contributes to inflammation that can injure the cells and create waste, and that makes this lymphatic system more plugged up. And that's also why when women, like when he was saying around menstruation time, that sometimes they feel like they're retaining fluid. And it's the hormones that actually make the lymphatic fluid more sticky rather than free flowing. So if you can just kind of keep ahead of that, you're going to have a much easier time during that time. The other thing is digestive imbalances. And so maintaining a balanced microbiome and upholding the intestinal lining. And that, of course, what that does is keeps harmful toxins and pathogens from actually getting into the bloodstream. Because if it gets into the blood, it's going to dump into the lymph, because that's the garbage can kind of, and then it's going to make the lymph sticky, and it's going to have a harder time draining out of the body. And I see this quite a bit when I'm doing massage. And so, but this is some of the major causes of that stagnant lymph flow, poor detoxification, and impaired immunity. Learning to handle stress is a great thing. So deep breathing or meditation, relaxation kinds of things. I'm getting grounded. I'm just reading a book and learning so much. And they're like, everybody needs to go outside and walk barefoot on the grass, minimal of 10 minutes a day. Now in Minnesota, that gets to be a little bit hard in the wintertime. But then what they say, the next best thing to do if you can't get grounded that way is to take a bath in either Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt. And those are another ways to really keep the body grounded. So not your table salt, but the Himalayan sea salt or the Celtic sea salt, just because those have a lot of minerals in them as well and can really help to get people grounded. But that is a great way to de-stress. So walk barefoot on the grass or soak in a bathtub, okay? This really talks about the digestive system, and I've showed this slide before, but this is really when we don't have good probiotics in the gut, we get that leaky and inflamed gut. And then all of those, the gluten and the microorganisms and the toxins and too much sugar and lots of things can pass into the blood, and that gets into the lymph and it makes the lymph sticky. And then you can't clean out, your cells can't clean out, and you leave all that garbage in there, where again, it is just risk of bacteria, parasites, yeast, fungus, all sorts of things can kind of grow in there if they cannot get out of the body. So those are ways to kind of prevent it, which is even like the probiotics and things, but also what I love about the prebiotic that we have. I have seen such good results with people who will come in for massage and they have issues with lymph, and I can tell that they do. And so from classes that I've taken, not of course from LifeVantage, but from other classes, what they'll say is that what really helps to get the lymph not so sticky is of course hydration, citrus and fiber. Those are great things to pull those sticky acids out of the body and make the lymph more easy to flow. And so our prebiotic is perfect because it has that blood orange in it, and plus it has all the fiber. And you know that prebiotics are really just plant fibers. They are. And it tastes so good. I think it's just fabulous. And so anybody who's complaining about, I can feel when the weather's changing because my joints are aching, the prebiotic is fabulous for them. And so other things too, jumping and heat and sauna, doing massages are also things that can help to really make that lymph more free flowing. And so again, the prebiotic, the greatest thing that it does is supports probiotic growth. And so when we're trying to protect our gut integrity, to be helping from the sludge from getting into the blood, getting into the lymph, the better probiotic growth that we can have, the better off we are. And the prebiotics support that. So the probiotic and the prebiotic are phenomenal and great together. And then also it's naturally flavored with that blood orange. Citrus is known to break up congested lymph. You can add if you want, and it actually tastes really good. You can add extra lemon juice, extra lime juice, or extra grapefruit juice. And those would just be extra citrus things to help to break the lymphatic system up and make it more free flowing. And then the prebiotic fibers, which is the plant-based fibers. And fibers are believed to attach to those acids and really pull those out of the body. Now, another thing that I know about, whenever you're trying to soften up Jell-O, that you put hot water in it, or that's how you make Jell-O to begin with. And so I sometimes, if I feel like I'm a little bloated from, maybe not eating so good over the weekend or doing something like that, I will actually drink this in warm water. Rather than in cold water, I drink it in warm water, because warm water, first of all, gets things into the system much faster than something cold. And so by using the prebiotic and adding a little extra lemon or lime or grape juice and putting it in warm water, it's kind of a win-win when you're looking at just feeling like your lymphatic system is really congested. And it tastes really good too. Kind of tastes like a nice warm tea, okay? And so the prebiotics are fabulous. And then of course, I did go ahead and Google, and I Googled lymph stagnation and oxidative stress. And once again, it comes up that is at the core. I think there were over 200 things on PubMed that related the lymphatic system to oxidative stress. And so our all-time winner continues to be the NERV2. So all three of those together would be, you know, the probiotic and the prebiotic and the protandem. All of them really, really help the lymphatic system just to be more free-flowing, get the garbage out of your back alley, and you're going to just feel much, much better. Ready? So that's all I have for tonight. I'm getting done in record time. Usually I talk for like way too long. So I don't know if there's any questions at all, but otherwise we can just go from there. Everybody good?
We are good. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Gloria and Kristy. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Good. Okay. Have a great night, everybody. Sleep well.
Good night.
Good night.